The yak is not just a shaggy bull, but a resident of the mountains. The animals that live there are harder than the polar ice. Just look at the ferocity with which this yak fights off an entire pack of wolves. They are shocked. The predators did not expect this level of aggression and strength. The yak fights better than the larger ungulates and seems to be going on the counterattack. A peacefully grazing yak does not seem to be a ferocious animal, but this is an illusion. As soon as danger arises, this ferocious mountain dweller immediately goes on the attack. He immediately accepts the fight and tries to trample its enemy, rushes into battle without fear, and uses all its physical abilities at 100%. There is not a single predator that can take down an adult yak one-on-one. And cubs can also feel safe next to their parents. Just look at the ferocity with which the female takes the cub from the snow leopard. A predator cannot chew through the large vessels of the neck of even such a young victim, and he simply does not have time to strangle a calf. The female attacks the leopard with the tenacity of a bulldozer. The leopard apparently thought that the female would not fight with full force next to the calf, so as not to accidentally hook the baby. But the predator underestimated the combat prowess of the victim. He wanted to strangle the baby, then retreat and return when the saddened herd retreated. But the plan failed. Pay attention. The female yak literally crushes the predator with crushing blows of the horns, but at the same time, acts so carefully that she never touches her cub with them. The leopard is in shock, but he has no chance to finish off the calf. The female picks up a mighty predator on the horns as if he were a rag toy. She almost trampled on him, and only at the very last moment did the leopard retreat. He understood how this fight would end for him. The calf is saved. The confrontation between yaks and wolves looks especially impressive. These predators from the canine group have learned to adapt perfectly to the conditions of life in the mountains. But the yaks seem only too happy to show that they are the masters right here. During the battle with wolves, the ungulate fights back with its horns and at the same time can deliver crushing blows with its hind hooves. A well-aimed hit, and the wolf does not have whole ribs left. From such a blow, the predator flies away as if it were hit by a truck. Even if he manages to avoid damage to internal organs, he is no longer capable of chasing. The predator also has to constantly dodge the sharp tips of the horns. If the yak hits the target with them, it will pierce the enemy through and literally pin him to the ground. The monstrous power allows the yak to throw the wolf over his head, just to catch the enemy on the horns. However, mountain wolves are also dangerous. They are not only incredibly strong, but also good at tactics. A pair of yaks fiercely fights off the pack, but one of the ungulates got too carried away and did not notice that the wolves deliberately moved the battlefield closer to the abyss. The ungulate just fell headfirst down from the height of the second floor. The damage to such a giant is not the most serious, but it will be easier for the wolves to finish him off. If it is possible to drive a young yak between the rocks so that it does not have room for maneuvering and acceleration, then 2 or 3 wolves will completely cope with it. Populations of completely wild yaks have been preserved in the world, but there are also domestic ones. They were domesticated in Asia hundreds or even thousands of years ago. The domestic yak, although relatively loyal to humans, has retained the indomitable temper of its ancestors and it has its enormous strength. Just look at this duel between a yak and an ordinary bull. Although the yak's height is huge, its yak mass may be slightly inferior to the size of its opponent. And the heavier bull attacks, clearly hoping to win by pushing through the enemy's defenses. But he doesn't know who he's messing with. The rage of the yak is huge. He presses on the opponent and, in addition to physical strength, also uses tactics. The length of the horns of a yak can be about 3 feet, and the distance between the tips is about the same. This gives you an advantage in combat with other horned animals that cannot boast the same arsenal. The yak delivers terrible blows with sharp horns to the neck, body, and muzzle of the enemy, chases him, and tries to literally trample him into the ground. Joking with a yak is a very bad idea for any animal. The yak is an exceptionally mountain bull that has been living in the Himalayas at an incredible altitude for thousands of years. The yak is ideally adapted to a high-altitude climate. It is protected from the cold by a thick, curly coat of very long length. And the animal also has large lungs and a heart, which help in places with rarefied oxygen. He has great strength, which allows him to ignore the attempts of wolves to overwhelm himself, lift other ungulates of comparable weight onto their horns, trample enemies into the ground, and scatter them like the wind scatters fallen leaves. But in the lowlands, he gets sick. He has almost no sweat glands, so the body of the yak is not adapted for thermoregulation in the lowlands. Interestingly enough, for some unexplained reason, the wild yak cannot stand places in pastures mastered by man. If in Southeast Asia, domestic buffaloes quietly coexist with wild counterparts, sometimes even created mixed herds and families, then wild yak and domestic rarely intersect. And honestly, this is great. Do you see how the conflict between domestic and wild yak will end? It seems that the rivals are equal, but the mountain air clearly has some effect on animals like doping. A wild yak turns over a domestic distant relative and inflicts a series of crushing blows on him. The protection of the domesticated ungulate is crumpled like paper under the pressure of a roller. But the duel between two domesticated horned ones already looks like a competition of equal opponents. But they are in no way inferior to their wild relatives. Pay attention to the frenzied pressure of the yak's attack. He doesn't just force the enemy to retreat. A stronger yak notices irregularities and pits behind the opponent's back. A stronger beast is deliberately driving him there to throw him off balance. Fights of domestic yaks rarely ends fatally for one of the fighters, but in a rage, animals can barely badly injure each other. One of the most famous and at the same time mysterious inhabitants of the mountains is the snow leopard. This predator has incredible agility, even by feline standards. Just look right here at how he literally flies from rock to rock while chasing ungulates. Like other panthers, the leopard is capable of relatively short runs, but in these few minutes, the predator covers huge distances. Each leap of a leopard is a leap from a height of more than human height to a distance several times longer than the body of the predator itself. The predator moves so fast that it seems as if it disappears in one place and appears in the other, a little closer to the prey. The ungulates are in a panic. They did not expect such a rush. Finally, the final jump, and the leopard crashes into the ungulate with all its weight. It would seem that a tense duel and fighting with such a victim on the very edge of a cliff is a bad idea. And indeed, both animals fell down. But don't underestimate the snow leopard here. This fall is part of the predator's hunting tactics, not a mistake. Surprisingly, the snow leopard, thanks to its extraordinary dexterity, can survive a fall from a height of the 3rd or 4th floor directly onto sharp rocks. Here's another confirmation of the joke that cats are liquid. We must pay tribute to the ungulates. They most often also withstand such a dizzying fall. But during the fight, the leopard hits the opponent several times on the rocks, damages his limbs, and gains an advantage. When the victim is exhausted, the leopard can only pounce on the throat and squeeze it with its fangs. And in the process of the chase, the animals fell significantly below the herd of the herbivore, so no one will have time to come to his aid. This tactic is really risky. Any slight mistake, carelessly placed paw, or banal failure, and already the leopard will receive critical damage. A broken paw, in his cases, is a fatal result of hunting for himself. The leopard needs to fight with its prey, control its fall, and keep an eye on every stone at the same time. And to do this, you absolutely must not be afraid of heights. You gotta admit, even watching such a fall through the screen, it makes you feel pretty uncomfortable. I think I'm gonna get dizzy here. But the cat is so brave that it keeps its cool and maximum concentration even while fighting with a larger ungulate in the process of falling off a cliff. The leopard hunts the bravest and most dexterous ungulates, mountain goats, and sheep, which manage to stay on the narrowest, sharpest, and smallest ledges, walk along steep cliffs, and keep a lot of body weight on the very tips of their hooves. These herbivores are invulnerable to other predators. If the wolves still climb to a fairly high altitude, then the ungulates simply jump up on the rocks and become out of the range of predators. Bears don't have a chance to get to these herbivore climbers either. Any bear would just fall into the abyss and crash if it had been chased a hoofed animal in there. In addition, a ram or a goat can banally push their enemy into the abyss. Neither great strength, nor speed, nor teamwork will help against these mountain dwellers. Due to their extraordinary climbing skills, sheep and goats are virtually invulnerable to most other predators. Only the snow leopard has sufficient dexterity and fearlessness to hunt these unique ungulates. Interestingly enough, ungulates and snow leopards are actually equal in climbing skills, but their bodies have adapted to this lifestyle in very different ways. Just look at the mountain goat climbing the rocks. It is already surprising that he manages to grab onto small ledges with the tips of his hooves. In general, hooves are poorly adapted for climbing. They are not sensitive, not flexible, and weakly cling to surfaces. But in front of you is an exception to the rule. A mountain goat can literally stick to a sheer cliff and walk along it as a small edge and rocks that its hoof does not even fit completely there. At the same time, there is zero fear or excitement. For an animal, wandering a hair's breadth from falling into the abyss is a normal way of life. And at the same time, the ungulate can not only walk, but also run in such conditions. The snow leopard is adapted for climbing rocks in a different way. If ungulates have rather long legs, but a mobile body in order to shift to the side at any moment and avoid falling, then the leopard here seems to be creeping over the stones. Relative to the body, it has rather short but very powerful muscular paws with huge soft pads. Sharp, strong claws allow you not only to cling securely to ledges during dizzying jumps, but also to grab almost solid stones, running up them vertically to the next place where you can stand. The snow leopard keeps the center of gravity as low as possible to be stable. And although his paws are short, they have great strength. A leopard can not only jump over a bus, but is also able to easily climb a rocky steep slope, holding in its teeth a hoofed animal 1.5 to 2 times heavier than itself. But the main thing is the fluffy and very long tail of the leopard. If the tail of a leopard reaches half the length of its body, then the tail of a snow leopard can touch the predator's head. In addition to being an ideal movable balancer, the tail is also a blanket. During overnight stays in wind-stepped wastelands, the leopard covers its head and muzzle with the fluffy tip of its tail to protect itself from the cold. It looks incredibly cute. You just want to wrap the cat in a blanket and give him something warm to drink. By the way, snow leopards are one of the most playful, meek, and loyal large predators towards humans. And it's all the more insulting that their habitat has been reduced precisely because of human activity. It remains to be hoped that their population will recover thanks to the activities of animal rights organizations.
The strength of the crocodile's jaws is so great that it can bite off the bumper of a car. But even such a dangerous predator can make a mistake with their choice of victim. Now he has clearly attacked the wrong one. The hippo has just trampled the crocodile in a few seconds. There are other animals that can give a thrashing even to a large adult crocodile. And now we will show the most epic fights of these enemies. Crocodiles and alligators often hunt wild boars that come too close to the water. One lightning-fast jerk, and the reptile's jaws close on the victim's body with the force of a steel vise. Then it remains only to drag the victim into the water. No matter how strong the boar's skin is, thanks to those strong jaws, the fangs enter it like a red-hot knife through butter. But this crocodile clearly overestimated his strength. At first glance, she correctly decided on the choice of victim. This reptile is still young, so it decided to attack one of the cubs and not one of the adults. But in fact, it turned out that this was a big mistake. The crocodile clearly underestimated the parental instinct. The boars attacked the crocodile from both sides. They powerfully rammed their enemy, trying to pierce his scales with their tusks. Although the reptile is about 1.5 times larger, this did not stop the boars. The crocodile definitely did not expect such a fierce rebuff. A million-strong herd of ungulates that migrate across Africa and cross rivers on their way is like a supermarket for crocodiles. Reptiles, it seems, do not even really hide in the water, and for a long time will choose the most appetizing victim. Then when they swim up, they'll grab the prey in one frightening throw and drag it into the water. But here, for some reason, this tactic simply didn't work. The crocodile is clearly in shock. Perhaps he could not catch the zebra precisely because its audacity struck the reptile. The zebra literally walked past the crocodile only inches away from its mouth, and then gracefully left. Such bravery is worthy of a like, don't you think? It seems that if there is a predator in Africa that can cope with an adult lion in a one-on-one battle, it's a crocodile. The strength of the reptile's jaws is several times greater than the bite force of a lion. Powerful tail strikes can also be as dangerous as the claws of the big cat. And the armored skin with strong scales gives excellent protection. Indeed, battles with crocodiles can end sadly for them. For example, if a reptile manages to grab the lioness by the muzzle at the watering hole, even if she breaks free, her jaws may be crippled and she'll no longer be able to hunt effectively, at least alone. Her only chance of survival is if the jaw heals enough for the lioness to be able to chew. Otherwise, she'll play the role of a beater and leave her sisters to catch the prey. However, messing with lions is a big mistake, even for a monster-sized crocodile. Most of the fights between these rivals end with the victory of the king of the beasts. For example, here the crocodile has decided to use his favorite tactic. He swam out of the water to take away the legitimate prey from the lions. Robbing an entire pride is a pretty bold decision. But making lions panic is not the same as scaring a herd of zebras or antelopes. The predators were surprised by such arrogance of this overgrown lizard, and then the main male decided to settle the conflict himself, alone. He came to the very edge of the water to drive a powerful crocodile back to the depths. One grin was enough. Here the crocodile did not allow himself to be intimidated, but it was in vain. When the lions realized that the reptile wasn't going to retreat, they attacked it all together. And although the reptile was huge and very strong, it lacks the reaction speed to resist the whole hail of blows that fell on it from all sides. The lions did not allow the crocodile to focus on any one opponent. And so when the reptile tried to grab one of its enemies with its jaws, it received a crushing blow with its paw, which may not have immediately opened the armor, but threw the crocodile off balance and threw it aside. As a result, the lions stunned their enemy so that not a single predatory cat was injured. The only thing that could save the crocodile was a rapid retreat into the depths. But this is far from the only such case. Here, the crocodile has literally run into the water in a panic so that the lions would not get to the less protected belly of the reptile. Turning over a crocodile when it actively resists and bites with its jaws is a difficult task, but apparently this pride had every chance. But if you think that lions are cooler than crocodiles only if they have a huge numerical advantage, you're mistaken. These lions tried to swim across the pond and didn't know that an adult and strong crocodile lived there. It seems that the reptile should definitely win in its native element. She perfectly takes advantage of all of the advantages, swims up from below, strikes an unexpected and quick blow, grabs and tries to drown the big cat. But underestimating the lions was a big mistake. The males turned out to be strong enough to fight back against the adult crocodile, even in the water. In addition, the lions didn't panic. Although they didn't see the enemy or expect the attack, they were able to react immediately and repel the attack, thanks to which they not only escaped, but also avoided serious injury. The crocodile, however, after several blows from those clawed paws, probably regretted ever having contacted them. This lioness noticed that the crocodile was dangerously close to a young teenage lion cub. The lion's family ties are very well developed because the female did not even waste time gathering a support team. She rushed at the crocodile herself to drive it away from the inexperienced cub. Look at how she drives away the reptile with lightning strikes. She hits exactly on the upper jaw. This is dangerous, but in this way, the lioness tries to dominate the opponent and show him that he will not find easy prey here. It seems that the lioness says to him, "Close your mouth, you overgrown lizard." What's going on in the Amazon River Basin? We used to think that this place was the arena of eternal battles between different species of animals for survival. And then you see a huge, dangerous crocodile with a capybara sitting quietly on its back. The friendliness of these mammals, of course, has long been legendary. But has it really reached such exorbitant levels that capybaras literally saddle crocodiles and use them as live transport? The animal is too heavy, so the reptile definitely feels its weight on its back. Maybe the capybara bribed him. And what explanations do you offer? Answer in the comments. We are really interested in your opinion. By the way, if you want us to make a separate video about this mysterious friendly animal, then write that too. Of course, you can say that it's fake, but then what do you say about it? Not only the capybara, but also this water bird straddles the crocodile and calmly rides on its back. However, the weight of this long-legged bird is not too large, and there's a possibility that the reptile simply doesn't know that it has quietly sat on its back. However, the courage of this fragile, feathered creature could be envied by a seasoned lion. This crocodile decided that he would now have a snack with a fish, after which he would swim to look for a serious opponent. The reptile did not realize that in front of her was the most terrible and dangerous enemy she's ever met. This is an electric eel, and it was a big mistake to mess with it. The eel didn't even wait for the crocodile to attack in earnest. As soon as the huge monster was within striking distance, the fish used its super weapon and generated a crushing electric shock. This instantly stopped the reptile. The pain caused shock and spasms and convulsions all through its muscles. The reptile was still alive, but the fish is scared and does not let go of such a serious enemy. The eel shocks the crocodile again and again until its heart stops. The crocodile's pretty sorry now, isn't it? Now, the cheetah is the fastest runner in the world, but that doesn't make it invulnerable to ambush attacks. As you can see, the crocodile is able to swim unnoticed to the very edge of the water, then jump out and grab its prey so quickly that the cheetah, with all of its abilities, couldn't dodge. And this cat can't fight such a strong enemy. The cheetah desperately resists, but this only slows down the crocodile without affecting the outcome of this duel in any way. The reptile was able to drag the cheetah to the bottom. Only attentiveness and a bit of luck saved the cheetah, which was able to have time to bounce out at the last moment. However, this trick does not work with all spotted cats. Although the leopard is the smallest panther, it does not agree at all to become an easy prey for a crocodile. Leopards are known for their agility, which does not change them even in such dangerous moments. Somehow, the leopard managed to notice the crocodile's approach early enough to elegantly dodge its attack. What the super-fast cheetah failed to do, the leopard did, and it seems with minimal effort. But that's not all. The leopard is one of the few predators that are so brazen and bold, or reckless, that they steal food from crocodiles. This leopard found a reptile at night, which was just having dinner. No animal is capable of such a feat, and the leopard dragged the prey right out of the mouth of the adult crocodile. The reptile tears off pieces from its prey and then swallows them in turn. Here, the crocodile clearly overestimated his strength and lay with his mouth full. Perhaps the reptile wanted to save food for the morning. But in any case, the leopard crept up to him, dragged the food literally out of his mouth, capturing pieces of meat between its fangs. It's hard to understand how the leopard managed to pull off such an incredible trick. Perhaps the fact that the crocodiles are cold-blooded animals. Their body temperature is the same as the ambient temperature, so on cold nights their temperature drops. They become sluggish, slow to react to what's happening. Just like that sloth from the animal cartoon. Flash, flash, 100-yard dash. Perhaps the crocodile was just dozing and the leopard, thanks to precise accuracy, took out the meat without ever touching the reptile. Or maybe the crocodile was just so shocked by the unexpected impudence of the spotted robber that he was confused and couldn't do anything about it. What do you think? Answer in the comments. We're interested to know your version of the story. But if you think that leopards attack crocodiles only while they're sleeping or not moving, well then you're mistaken. Here, a cheeky cat tried to fight off a crocodile's prey right in the water in the middle of the day. The reptile did not expect such courage. The leopard descends the steep bank directly into the mouth of the crocodile, which is in better position and can attack at any moment. But this leopard's self-confidence was justified. Every time the crocodile attacks, the cat manages to bounce back with lightning speed. She literally flies to the top of the shore and then descends again. The poor crocodile obviously won't be able to have a quiet lunch.